Hi, and welcome back to Coffee and Calacas. I'm your host, Joe. If you're new to this podcast, I want to welcome you and let you know that this is a weekly podcast where we sit around the coffee table, drink coffee, in this case, cold brew, and we discuss stories of the supernatural, mysticism, and what lies in the beyond. Sometimes we go a little off topic and discuss stuff that relates to the supernatural. But in this case, we will be discussing the supernatural this week. And if you are into that and you want to support this podcast, visit us at galacaspod.com and you can find links to all our social media. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the show. Okay, so for this week, we are discussing the legend of La Llorona. So, for anyone who is familiar with the legend, or if you've seen the movie, more than likely you have seen the movie. It came out, I think, 2019, maybe 2020. I'm not even sure. Probably 2019. 2020 was just, you know, bad year for movies. Um, so okay, so if you've seen the movie La Llorona, you have an idea of who La Llorona is. But if you've never seen it, great, good. And if you have seen the movie, you know what? Forget about it. Anything you saw is just it's complete and utter bullshit to me. You know, movie just didn't feel like it stayed true to the roots. So for centuries, children have been told to not get near the water, whether it comes from the Japanese kappa demon, which hungers for cucumbers and for human organs, or to the hideous frogmen of Slavic folklore, which is known locally as the Vodyanoi. Anyways, so danger has always lurked for any child who has, dared get close to the water. And in Latin America, it is no different. You have warnings to stay close to your parents and stay close to home because of La Llorona. Okay. So if you do not know Spanish, La Llorona translates to the weeping woman, the crying woman. Um, so if you know the story, it basically goes that, well, who is she? Okay, let's see. Um, well, it's a complicated story. It's been passed down for years to years, but with I guess with each passing, it changes a little bit. She goes from being she's always a mother. First and foremost, she's always a mother. She's a mother, and she's ultimately a murderer and then a monster. Okay, so if you remember from last week's episode, we discussed the Giwata. I'm not going to bother pronouncing it. I've had a couple of these spiked cold brews, so I don't think I'll be able to pronounce it very well right now. Um, Giatatemos. Close enough. It's close enough. Giawata. Yeah, no. Okay. So, anyways, if you go back to last week's episode, and I let you know that the Aztec legend for that particular creature demon um relates to La Llorona. So she basically gathers up. She goes to the crossroads and gathers up kids, picks up kids, takes your man, takes your children, and everything. So not that the La Llorona is trying to take your man. Maybe she is, but for sure she's trying to take your kids. So La Llorona is a mother, and in the stories I've heard, her name is always Maria, and she was a mom of two kids, and she was married, or she was married to this man, and eventually the man leaves her for a very wealthy woman, and he doesn't want anything to do with her and the kids. Though he loved the kids, he's like, no, that was my old life. I'm moving on to this woman, and she's wealthy, and she's of noble blood, and I can't be seen with peasants. So he dropped her, and I mean, hey, that's not cool, dude. So anyways, Maria gets upset, and she grabs her kids takes him to the river, and she drowns him. Okay. Um, I guess she started to feel guilt, and she ends up committing suicide. Jumps into the river too, drowns. Gets to the kingdom of heaven, and she's told she can't enter without her kids. So she goes. They send her back. They're like, go back and look for your kids, girl. So she goes back, um, and she's searching for her kids, and that's why you hear her crying. And she's always, llorando, mis niños, mis niños. And I'm like, girl, they're gone, man. They're gone. Se la llevó la corriente, you know? Ya se fueron. Ultimately, I do believe in some of the stories. The kids do enter the kingdom of heaven because they were innocent when it happened. So they get a freebie. They get a pass. Um they get to go into heaven, but she doesn't go in because she killed them and she committed suicide. So it's messed up, man. Poor lady, poor Maria. Sufre mucho. I mean, her man leaves her. She kills her kids, and then she can't go to heaven. Like, damn, that's some tough stuff. So, in cultures, I mean, different Hispanic cultures, Mexican cultures, different from family to family. It varies. Who she is, really, why she is the way she is. In some renditions of the story, she is someone who got pregnant, and she wasn't ready to be tied down, so she drowned the kids because she was like, I want to go live my best life, but she can't live her best life, and she ends up, just roaming the world trying to snatch up a kid. So as a kid growing up, I remember my grandma, mom, dad, whoever, they would talk about La Llorona, saying, "Oh, ya está oscuro, Vete para adentro porque si no, ahí está La Llorona." Thing is, in my neighborhood, it's in the historical part of, I mean, what part of Brownsville isn't historical? But it's more in the downtown area. So yeah, like stuff happens, man. I mean, I'm not saying that I've seen La Llorona because I myself have never seen La Llorona, but um, someone has seen her. Not me though, not me. I remember one of my tios. Um, I didn't hear the story directly from him. This came down from, I think, my mom or my grandma. They mentioned it to me. Um, I'm not sure if he saw the La Llorona, or yeah, I think it was him. Yeah. Um, the way it was told was he gets home from work, gets home, and he hears like a ruckus outside. Goes outside, and pause there. Let me just say that La Llorona was depicted as a woman in white coming after your kids. Okay, you know. So yes, go back. Yeah, so he goes and he sees La Llorona walking behind the house. A woman dressed in white. He tries to follow who this person is because he thought it was a little suspicious that why is there a woman in white walking by there, right? So he tries to follow her. And I not necessarily do I live next to the river, but the river's close by my house. Okay, the river is close by my house, and there is a sort of like a, it's not a resaca, but there's like a little creek, a little pond close by too. So La Llorona travels bodies of water because she's searching for her kids. Usually a river. Okay, usually she's near the river. And like I said, I live near the river. Okay, not directly on the river, but close by enough that it's within walking distance. Okay, so she's traveling up and down, looking for the river or looking for her kids, right? And I mean, okay, so if you know anything about geography, you know that the river doesn't always stay in the same course. Rivers change, course, the waterways change, they do change courses. So is it possible that maybe the river crossed around my house at one point, and that is why, she can be easily seen around my neighborhood? And that's why my tío had seen her. And then, pues, con el tiempo, with time, um, the river shifted course somewhat and moved más para allá, and because, like I said, it's within walking distance. It's not far off. A good, 3-minute walk, 5-minute walk, and you're next to the river. So let's put it back this way. He sees her and starts following her, not like right behind her, but at a good distance enough that he can keep an eye on her. And all of a sudden, the bitch disappears. She just poofed. And he was stunned by that. He was shook. I mean, wouldn't you be? I mean, I know I probably would be. Stuff happens and leaves you a little shook, but we just see something disappear in front of you. Let's be honest. You're gonna be a little taken back by that. So, anyways, yeah, he saw her disappear. I believe he goes and tells his wife. His wife's like, "Hi, estás loco?" Like, estás viendo cosas, or maybe she believed him. I can't honestly. I don't know exactly what happened. The conversation happened between the two of them. Nonetheless, my tia tells my grandma, tells my mom, esto pasó, right? And I mean, other stuff has happened, and I've mentioned before, other things have happened in my neighborhood, and stuff happens freaking enough that I could have a story for each episode. Things play out differently here. So yeah, he sees something, and he believed it was La Llorona, and I'm not saying it wasn't. I mean, it could, for all we know, it could have been La Llorona. Um, I mean, why not, right? So, anyways, um, you know, it's a story that's told to kids to keep them in line, to keep them from, wandering away from the house too late in the dark. Um, how true is it? I don't know how true it is. You know, there hasn't actually been like a, you know, um, something in writing saying, okay, this did happen. This is why the story gets told, from generation to generation. I mean, it's possible. I have mentioned that, usually with legends like this, there's a kernel of truth behind each and every, legend and folklore. It's not something that's just, comes out of someone's hat and, hey, I came up with this. Something has to, it it pulls it up and it forms, from a little bit of a kernel of truth, that's all it takes, a kernel of truth. So is it possible that maybe something like this happened and, as a way to, I guess keep people in line, it gets told that if you drown your kids, you're gonna, suffer the rest of your life roaming the earth looking for them. Or if you step a toe out of line, this is what plays out, You keep your house lights in line, you keep your kids in line. Because if you're a kid at the age of 6, 7, and they're telling you, mijo, si sales para afuera, te va a llevar la llorona. If you go outside, the la llorona is going to take you. It's scary. I'm not saying that, oh my god, you're going to pee your pants scary, but it has that creep value, and you think, well, why? Will it actually take me? And you step, in line a little bit more, and you're not as likely to wander off from home late at night, especially if you live near the water, and if you're from Bronzeville, there's a bunch of resacas por donde quiera. So yeah, you're more than likely to stay within line and not wander off. Um, I remember my dad would tell me as a when he was a kid that pues era bien travieso. He was always misbehaving, and his mom and dad would constantly like tell him, ya Juanito, ya pasígote, like settle down and don't mess around. And to my dad, it no big deal, and se le hacía fácil las cosas, and, he ended up getting, hurt and spanked and things that happened, and, he'd end up getting the consequences for it, Um, and he said, yeah, like he lived like close to a resaca, and his parents or his mom, I think, maybe his dad, I want to say it was more his mom would tell him, you need to be back by a certain hour because se te va a llevar la llorona. And I remember this one time he said that he had been out late at one of his friends' house, and estaban jugando, se le hizo tarde a él, and he still had to walk back home, you know. Um, and just the idea of having to walk back home at night, he said that he was scared because he's like, aunque me portaba mal, even though he would misbehave, he did have some kind of, like belief in La Llorona, and he was afraid that La Llorona was going to take him. So he said that, he kept hearing like a noise, and he started just like booking it. He was running home and llegó todo like, despeinado, cansado. His mom's like, ¿Qué te pasa? And he's just like, oh no, I was just trying to get home before it got even darker. And she's like, no, está bueno, right? But it shows you, sometimes that little fear, sparks something in a child who does misbehave and think, hey, maybe I should settle down because, maybe my mom is right. Maybe si me vaya la llorona. I mean, I remember my grandma would tell me, when I would misbehave, like, as a kid, sometimes you get a little out of hand, you get a little, loud. And I think one time I like threw a ball at her or something like that, and she got mad and she was like, "Ay, no me levantes la mano porque se te va a secar la mano." If you hit me or something, your hand's gonna dry up. And I was so afraid my hand was gonna dry up. And I would like look at my hands every day and it's a sign of respect. I would respect her, I think at that time I was just messing around and I just got a little out of hand. But yeah, I respected my grandma, respect all my elders. But as a kid, when you get told something like that, it's like, oh, let me take a step back and think about that. Let me process that. And that's what La Llorona is. It's a way for kids to pause and reflect. What will happen if I step out of, line? What are the consequences of me disobeying my mom and dad and coming home past, 7:30, past 8, past dark? Will I actually get taken by La Llorona? Will something else happen? What will happen to me? And that's what I said, the La Llorona movie, I didn't like it. I watched it once, I think maybe twice. I don't know. I know I've watched it. Um it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't good. It lacked a lot of the integrity of what the original story should entail. I mean, I understand they wanted to kind of like modernize it somewhat, bring it into the closer to more modern day era than keeping it in the past. Um but just the way they brought it out, her coming to the actual house and haunting you there just didn't fit with the actual vibe of the story, which I didn't like. Um yeah, so um that's kind of what happened. I mean, that's like Llorona for you. Take it as it is. It's a story that, we that does get told from generation to generation to kids. Um I mean, I remember hearing it as a kid, and I know kids do hear about it today. I've heard of the kids, when I'm out at the store and stuff, and like I've heard kids talk about it with their parents and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, si pasa, it's it, they tell you from place to place, and there's more to it. Like I tell you, all these things are kind of connected. This connects back to last week's episode. Um, and I mean, go ahead and listen to that episode if you haven't listened to it yet and try to piece them together and you tell me how you see it. Does it kind of add up where yeah, La Llorona was someone who was abused by her family or her husband, kind of told off, told that she wasn't loved no more, so she gets depressed, goes and takes it on her kids, and this happens. um but yeah, that's it. That's what I have this week for you. If you like this episode, go ahead and like and subscribe, comment down below. If you haven't yet, go check out galakaspod.com. There's links to all our social media there. We have an Instagram, we have a Patreon, we have a TikTok. Sorry about the TikTok, content. I mean, I'm working on it. Okay. Um, I do post a little bit more on Instagram. I'm trying to post more on Facebook, but the whole algorithm for Facebook is kind of off right now, so I'm still trying to like figure it out. But yeah, like and subscribe. Support this channel. We do have a Spotify. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, awesome. Thank you. Really appreciate that. If you don't listen to this on Spotify and you're listening to this on YouTube, check us out on Spotify. And support this channel in any way you can. If you can join us on Patreon, I really appreciate it. And a little bit of a contribution from you guys really helps a lot in keeping this channel alive and going. Let me know what you think, what you like, what you want to hear for next week in future episodes and stuff. And again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. And remember, life begins after coffee. Thanks.